In this one, we will take a walk through the new Luminar AI. So let's start it up. Okay, so this is the new screen. These used to be on the right, this used to be on the left. Search, practically useless as earlier, is still around. And the first thing you will notice is that if you zoom it up, quit it, and start it up again, it will not retain the window size, which is extremely irritating. So it started up. Let's add a few images and see what we can do with this. Let's add the 2020 images. I don't want to add too many because that will take quite some time. Okay, I've already set this to small instead of the default of large. Zoom into this. The information has been moved to the right bottom, which you can expand and see. Not much. The search, as earlier, practically useless. Okay, if we go into edit, the majorly noticeable thing is that you are missing layers here, which were there in Luminar 4. The layers also were practically useless, as I had mentioned in an earlier video, so I'm happy they are gone. Okay, so let's go back to the grid mode and start with the menus. Maybe I'll just make it larger for now. Okay, about, I would have liked to see a better dialogue on this, but check for updates as earlier. Now this is something which quite a few people would have used, because the default earlier Luminar install had a set of plugins which were non-functional, so you would need to reinstall them from here, and there it would work. I've already explained this in an earlier video. Preferences remain more or less the same, no real change here. Languages, hide, quit, and in the file we have similar options to the earlier Luminar 4. Interestingly, I don't even have this installed, and yet I see this here. Edit has the usual. Set flag. Now this is another change from Luminar 4. You can only flag an image. There are no colors or stars that you can assign anymore, which makes the search even more useless. The rotate, flip, adjustments, move to Luminar trash and show in Finder. Library, templates, export, RAW and JPEG, account, window, and help. Okay, let's take a look at what we have on the top bar. Now this is a new one. Whenever you see this rotating in colors, that means it is processing, and the processing will be completed only once this is solid white. The catalog replaces the earlier panel. Templates is the new thing, and I don't want a template for this. It's detected that these are animals. Okay, let's try templates for this one, and it changes automatically, detecting that we have a human face in here. So these templates basically provide you a good starting point for your final edits. And Luminar AI will detect the kind of image you have, the subject you have in the image, and will suggest these templates accordingly. Once again, it goes back to animals. Now, once you click on a template, you'll have all these options that are predefined in Luminar, and you can check them out. Whichever one you think suits you best, you can adjust the strength of the template here. You can mark it as a favorite here. You can reset adjustments or go into edit from here. Okay, let's go back to the grid mode and take a look at, let's say, okay, the scroll bar is kind of hidden, but so let's take a clean sky based image, and let's say this one, and we're going to edit. Now we have this side by side comparative view and the before and after. The first new thing that we see in the essentials menu is composition AI. This allows you to set the perspective, flip, rotate, and transform. A double click on the label will reset it. If I try doing an escape here, it doesn't work as before, which is extremely irritating. The escape key is on the keyboard for a purpose, not really honored here and in some other applications. The composition, if you click on it, will suggest a crop. I would probably do that and press enter, and this menu collapses, which is irritating. I'm not done with this. And every such option has a undo button here, which is interesting. So you can undo that, but you still have to click to get out of it. You cannot escape. So there is no escape. The next is erase, which is similar to the earlier one. You can select portions to erase. Light is probably the most common one used. We can set the white balance. If you have a raw file, you will find these options, otherwise not. If we change it to daylight, you can see the difference. The temperature has been reset. The black and white points and a curve in case you need to adjust a bit more. So we'll just undo that, close light. Interestingly, it is equivalent to a solo mode in Lightroom, because if you open one, the other one closes. Again, this has been renamed to enhance AI. It is basically the same as in Luminar 4. Now, some of these will have a mask. You can paint in the mask, you can use a radial or a gradient mask. Wherever you see this icon, you have the masking options. Let's undo this. Structure, same as earlier with a mask. Now color, you have the usual, again with an undo button. That is nice. Black and white, you have these options. Details, slightly enhanced. Denoise and advanced settings just has the boost. The dehaze golden hour, for example, if I do a golden hour here, you can see the temperature change. If I want to add dehaze to it, it'll darken it up a bit, increasing the contrast. And there is foliage here, but not green, so this has no impact. You just undo this, and of course, the vignette with its settings, you can choose the subject button to click on the subject, and the vignette will go around it. Let's look at the next creative menu. The Sky AI is as before. You have the same kind of settings. You can do a dramatic sky or whatever. Let's undo that. Augmented Sky is also the same as earlier. You can add in whatever you feel like. You can place the object. You have these advanced settings to refine, and of course, the defocus. You don't want everything in focus most of the time. Atmosphere has these options. Sun rays is very similar to as it was earlier. You can place the sun center. You can change the amount and how much it penetrates and so on. You have the sun settings, the rays settings, and the kind of warmth you want. So let's undo this, and you have the same dramatic effect as earlier. The advanced brightness and saturation settings. Then you have mood, which is essentially LUTs from Luminar 4. Let's just undo this, go into toning. Now this can help in certain scenarios. Let's say we increase the saturation so you can see it better. You can tone the highlights and shadows to match. Let's undo this. This is the matte effect. Then we have mystical, which is similar to what we had in Luminar 4. Glow has all these options. The orton has been moved to glow. It was separate earlier. Advanced settings for this, and then finally we have film grain. Let's look at the portrait options. You have face AI, skin, body, high key. We'll just get a different image and try these out. The professional menu starts with the optics, auto distortion correction, assuming your camera and lens are supported. As you can see, there's a slight change. Remove the CA. I would have liked to see this as a default in the preferences. Super contrast, advanced contrast earlier, I think. You can actually control the highlight, midtones, and shadows contrast. Color harmony has color contrast, warmth split, and you can choose between which range you want to modify. Dodge and burn, you can simply select from here. For example, if we do a darken, that will happen. So we just undo this. Clone and stamp. Oops. Even though I brushed it out, it brings it back. Anyway, let's just undo this and reset all adjustments. And now let's just try and pull out a human image. Okay, that should work, I guess. And check out the portrait tab. So if we go into portrait, let's look at the face AI. The face light works. It's left the dog out. Slim face works. Now eyes, in this case, let's see. Now you can see this is processing. Okay, it does work even on this image. Does it work on this also? No, not here. But it does work here. Iris flare, enlarge the eyes. The good thing about Luminar, even earlier, was that it will not let you go beyond certain acceptable limits. So you have all of these options. Let's just pull this up, and yes, it does work. Let's take a look at the skin. Skin smoothing, I guess. Yes. And let's see, it's still processing the moment you see all of this happening. Let's say shine removal. That works great. Skin defects removal. Okay, pretty good. Will it actually work on this particular image? Yes, it does. And of course, high key with its advanced settings from earlier. So that definitely works. And you can actually paint in and paint out. Last but not the least is local masking. This can be very useful. You can add a basic mask with these options, or you can add a texture. You can load a texture, set the opacity, zoom, and blend settings. Okay, so there is no loaded texture, so I can simply use it to lighten or darken. And here we have the history panel. This is all we've done so far, and we'll just reset because we're not going to save any of this as a template. And lastly, export. So we have all these options. If we save to disk, we have an option to sharpen, dimensions, color space, and all of these formats that we can use, including the quality for JPEGs. And that's it. This is the new Luminar AI walkthrough, and we'll go through some of the stuff in more detail in later videos. That's it for now. Have fun till the next one.